Welcome back to another episode of our Kings related podcast, wherever you may be. In this recap of the ugly Kings loss to the Orlando Magic on this Wednesday evening, 1:30 to 1:11. And a night where the Orlando Magic stole the show on the debut night of Zach LaVine in a Kings uniform in this lopsided affair, as now the Kings are back to 500 at 25-25. And for Zach LaVine, this was, I thought at times, he looked good, but tonight marked the second time this season that Zach LaVine failed to make a three. In this game, he was 0 for 4. And, when you make an in-season acquisition like the Kings did with Zach LaVine, the Kings faced the worst opponent to do so, because this Orlando team is big. They are excellent on defense. This Orlando team is third in the NBA in defensive rating. The Orlando Magic, they did the exact same thing to the Kings last year that they did tonight. They came into the Golden One Center as the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and they caught fire, especially in that third quarter. Franz Wagner, 16 of his 31 points was in that third quarter. He was 4 of 5 from 3. He absolutely caught fire in this game, just like every other opponent does when they come into Sacramento. Just look at that. Just look here at the box score. In this game tonight, Orlando shot 25 of 44 from 3. And this is not a great offensive team in Orlando. And you let them shoot nearly, says here on the box score, 56% from 3. Just absolutely incredible. And this is a game where at the half, the Kings were down 2. I believe it was 62-60 Orlando. They were down 2. And in that third quarter, the Orlando Magic, they got off to an 8-0 run to start the third, and they never looked back. They ended up outscoring the Kings 42-23 in that third. Just absolutely incredible, and it just can't happen. There was zero resistance by the Kings on the defensive end, and this is a big Orlando Magic team with size and length. And again, when you make an acquisition like the Kings did, this is not the team you want to play trying to implement that new player in Zach LaVine against a team like Orlando. Since Doug Christie has been the interim head coach, so it's now 19 games. Here are the point totals that the Sacramento Kings have given up. 144, 143, 133, 132 twice, 130 twice, and 127. It's not good. And you want to talk about what else is not good? In case you needed an idea of how valuable and essential Malik Monk is to this team and how screwed they are without him, Malik Monk in this game played 4 minutes in that second half because he was in foul trouble all night. 5 fouls. Malik Monk was 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, only 10 points, and he played 24 minutes in this game. And again, just 4 minutes in that second half. And the Sacramento Kings, with Malik Monk in foul trouble all game long, they were outscored 55-28 before finally Doug Christie waved the white flag because you got a game tomorrow night. Just not a great night for the Sacramento Kings. And they were sloppy with the basketball. The Kings had 19 turnovers in this game, and the Orlando Magic had 28 points off those turnovers on Sacramento. The Kings had 21 points, and Orlando only had 8 turnovers in this game. They took care of the ball, but this is a Magic team. They coming into this game, they have lost 7 straight road games, and apparently with this one tonight, they snapped that tonight. They haven't this was a tough Orlando team to figure out because they haven't been playing well here as of late. But it's still a good young team. It's a team that with guys that they have drafted and they have developed, like Franz Wagner, who, like, again, he's the guy that went off in the third, 16 points. 16 of his 31 points came in that third. You got Paolo Banchero, 23 points. Bataze, 14 points for the big man. KCP, 2 of 5 from 3. A quiet night from him. But Cole Anthony, 14 points. Like Anthony Black, 15 points off the bench for Orlando. It was an ugly game. The Kings did not play well in any facet of this game. And this is a tough game to swallow. Zach LaVine made his Kings debut tonight, and I thought there was some good, but not a lot. And he looked lost. I liked how he attacked the rim. He hit a few jumpers in this game. And he showed some early chemistry with Sabonis. And then at times was a little messed up on the floor. But Zach LaVine, he was 4 of 13 shooting, 13 points for LaVine in this game. And then the Magic, again, when you're trying to, like what the Kings are trying to do here, trying to implement a new player with 0 practice time here at this point in the season, You got a Magic team with their length and athleticism that bothered everyone on this Kings team, except for Domantas Sabonis, who really attacked the bigs of Orlando. Just another double-double for Sabonis. 21 points, 13 rebounds, and he was 8 of 10 from the field. And in this ugly game, that was one of the lone bright spots in this game for the Sacramento Kings. So, Keegan Murray couldn't buy a pass from his teammates as Keegan only took 4 shots through the first 3 quarters of this game, and he only managed 5 points, 2 of 6 shooting. And right now, going forward, the Kings absolutely need Keegan Murray to be Keegan Murray that we saw on this past road trip, who was playing well, and before the road trip. So that's what we need from Keegan Murray. We need Keegan Murray to be Keegan Murray again, both offensively and defensively. And again, also in this game, just sloppy basketball from this Kings team, and it had nothing to do with the implementing the new guy Zach LaVine. Just the basketball got stuck on the floor. Not enough. The ball did not move enough. When it needed to do, and so just you had 22 assists and again 19 turnovers. Not a great night of Kings basketball on this Wednesday evening from the Sacramento Kings. So it's not a great night for the Kings in this game. Just looking at the other numbers from the Kings. Kings shot 37% from 3. Both teams shot the ball well from the field. 50%. Orlando they nearly shot 60%. They nearly shot 60% from the field. Again, the defense was not great by the Kings. The Kings did not stop the dribble penetration all night long. They just let Orlando drive to the lane, get those buckets, and that led to those Orlando hitting 16 threes in this game. And this is not a great offensive shooting team in Orlando. But it's the same thing that happened last season when Orlando came into Sacramento last season. So it's not an easy back-to-back for Sacramento, as you are now in Portland tomorrow night. And that's a Portland Trailblazers team that's won, I believe, 4 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NBA. They're Portland's 22. Oh, they won 5 in a row. 22 and 29. The hottest team in the NBA right now, and that's a Portland team that's in the midst of a rebuild. But you gotta be careful of that team tomorrow. You got guys like Scoot Henderson. You got who else? You got trying to think. Matisse Thybulle, who is questionable. for that game. So, and this is a Portland team that beat you earlier in the season during that in season tournament. So you got and DeAndre Ayton, you got Anthony Simons, you got Chris Murray, you got Scoot Henderson, I mentioned him already, but you got Jeremy Grant, who did not play in the last meeting, who was injured. So it's not going to be a cakewalk tomorrow for Sacramento against this Portland team who's coming in a little red hot. They're the hottest team in the NBA. So, not a great night for the Sacramento Kings on this Wednesday evening. The Kings did make a move a couple hours before this game as they acquired the big man Jonas Valanciunas, and I really love this move for the Kings, who provides more size that they desperately need, bench depth that they need, and a solid backup big for Domantas Sabonis, which they desperately need, and just a quality backup that the Kings desperately need. And with the trade deadline tomorrow at noon Pacific time, they need a wing. So the Kings need to make another move. They need a wing player, and I'm begging for the Kings to go out and go get Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. I think that's who the Kings, I think they need. They need guys with length, and it showed. Hey, you just faced an Orlando team tonight that's got size and length, and that's what the Kings need to address at the deadline tomorrow. So, not a good game for the Sacramento Kings. Just a disgusting second half by the Kings. Again, this was a game at halftime where the Kings, they fought their way back in that second quarter. They outscored Orlando by 4, and you trailed by 2, and then Orlando, coming out of halftime, started again 8-0 run and never looked back. And it was Franz Wagner who caught fire in that third. 4-5 from 3. 16 of his 31 points were in that third quarter, and that's where the ball game was won for the Orlando Magic, who are now 2 games under 500. They're also in that play-in situation in the Eastern Conference, and they have a tough game tomorrow night as they are in Denver to take on the Nuggets, and that is a brutal back-to-back for them. But there was some moves as we look at some of the moves that were made in the NBA today. Jimmy Butler is going from South Beach to the Bay as the Golden State Warriors traded for Jimmy Butler, who is now a Warrior, as he will team up with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Golden State. And on the way to Miami, you got Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Dennis Schroeder who the Warriors just acquired earlier this season from Brooklyn. So Dennis Schroeder's short stay in Golden State is over. But Golden State, they were aggressive. They were looking for a star to pair with Stephen Curry for this season, and we'll see if that works out. Golden State, they're in that play-in mix as well in the Western Conference. And Jimmy Butler signed a 2-year contract extension as well, as that runs 26 to 2027. And also tonight you had Brandon Ingram, who was on his way to the Toronto Raptors, as the Raptors acquire Brandon Ingram from the New Orleans Pelicans for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, 1 first-round pick, and 1 second rounder. It's a good move for Toronto, as they kind of go for continue their rebuild up there in Canada. Really like that move for Toronto going forward. And then you got the Los Angeles Lakers, who trade rookie Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, and picks to the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams. So Lakers busy again before the trade deadline after they made the blockbuster deal over the weekend that landed them Luka Doncic and sent Anthony Davis to the Dallas Mavericks. So, and we got the trade deadline tomorrow. Should be interesting what other moves are made tomorrow before the trade deadline is up. But just looking at some of the other scores around this 11-game night in the NBA, you got De'Aaron Fox, who made his San Antonio Spurs debut, and Fox, 24 points, 13 assists, 5 rebounds as the Spurs beat the Hawks by 1. And you had a great game in Detroit as Darius Garland nails the game-winning buzzer beater 3 to beat the Pistons by 3, 118 to 115. And then you got the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Charlotte Hornets, and you got the Miami Heat beating the 76ers by 7. No Joel Embiid in that game for Philadelphia. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they bounced back after their 2 losses, and they beat the Chicago Bulls in Minnesota. The Utah Jazz, they get a good win in Utah against Golden State by 3. As that's a nice win for the Utah Jazz. They get their 12th win of the season. And then the best team in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they continue to bludgeon teams as they hammer the Phoenix Suns, who they have some rumors of their own. Kevin Durant. There's rumors about Kevin Durant and maybe his uncertain future there in the desert. The Denver Nuggets, they hammer the New Orleans Pelicans in the Mile High City. The Washington Wizards and their young team, they beat the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn. And then the number 2 seeded Memphis Grizzlies in the Western Conference. They beat the Toronto Raptors handedly in Toronto. Really good game for the Memphis Grizzlies in that game. Ja Morant, just incredible. The All-Star Jaren Jackson, 32 points for Triple J. But the Kings, they fall in the Zach LaVine debut in an ugly game at the Golden One Center. Just not a great night by the Kings, who were sloppy all night. They were outscored in that not a great second half by the Kings after fighting your way back in that second quarter to take the lead, to trail by 2 at halftime, and then Orlando dominated that second half. Kings back to 500. Good thing is you got a game tomorrow night against the red hot Portland Trailblazers up in the Pacific Northwest in Portland. See if the Kings can bounce back, and you should. And you got some games here coming up. You got Portland tomorrow, and then you're back home on Saturday against the Pelicans, and then Monday you're back on the road to face the Dallas Mavericks, that new look Mavericks team, no Luka Doncic. And then you wrap up this first half of the season before the All-Star break with a back-to-back in New Orleans against the Pelicans. And then you got the All-Star break where you'll probably get some practice time after the All-Star game. But right now, there's no practice time. So this team with Zach LaVine and then with your new guy and Jonas Valanciunas, you're learning to play with one another on the fly. So see if the Kings can bounce back tomorrow night in Portland. Gonna need to, because this Western Conference just got tougher with some of the moves that were made just from this past weekend to today, a couple of days ago. So the West has reloaded, and it's going to be brutal as we go down the stretch here after the All-Star break. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of our Kings-related podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below. If you're listening on your preferred audio platform, please hit that thumbs up. Please hit the follow button. Rate 5 stars. Leave a nice little review. Be much appreciated. And also available wherever you get your favorite podcast. Kings lose in the Zach LaVine debut. Can they bounce back? We'll be back tomorrow night following Kings Blazers, hopefully after a Kings win. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Go Kings.